Welcome back to the Polishing Podcast. My name is Nico, otherwise known as Nico All Powerful, on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. And this is episode 51 of the Polishing Podcast. And you are now tuning into the Polishing Podcast. That was fucking stupid. This is like the seventh time I'm recording the intro and trying to figure out where I want to take this episode of the podcast, so I'm just going to keep that in. Welcome back, everyone who listens to this podcast, even though it's just me nowadays, in this second season, quote unquote, of the podcast. I appreciate anybody who's still listening, even with Apollo not here. You guys are awesome, and I really do appreciate it. To anyone who's checked out the Patreon and is supporting it, thank you so much. You will get your shout-outs at the end, like I said, in the tiers. Obviously, that'd be really fucked up if I didn't, actually follow through with that. But yeah, episode 51. Just a little update on what I've been up to. Been playing a lot of Destiny 2. Got a job. For anyone who's new and hasn't listened to some of the previous episodes, back when we first started this, I had just been brought on to help Apollo, who I'll refer to as Trent from here on out, just because that's what I know him as. It's hard for my brain, in my head, to say the word Apollo instead of just his name. But we had just started working together because of the deal that he got through Facebook, where they were paying him to stream on Facebook. So he was like, hey, if you come work for me, you don't have to work at Target anymore. And I was like, fuck yes, I don't like working there. But yeah, so I got a job about a year and a half ago. I was working at Target, started to work for Trent, no longer work for Trent. You guys don't need to know the nitty gritty of it all. Just know that after looking for another different type of job, I am going back to Target, which isn't as bad as I think in my brain I think it's going to be. Not because, Target's not a terrible place. It's just, the shitty thing is it's close to the holidays, and I'm going to work at a retail place where people order a lot of stuff off of, and we live in a city, so a lot of people shop there. So you just got to deal with a lot of people, and I'm kind of introverted. So dealing with a lot of people isn't exactly my strong suit, but it's not going to be that bad. They hire at a higher rate. God, say that 5 times fast. Than they used to. So back when I was working at Target a year and a half ago, I was making like $10.50 an hour. Maybe I think I got a raise, so it was like $10.70, $10.75. Their minimum wage right now is $13 an hour, and they're going to be bumping it to $15 sometime in 2020. So I'll probably get a $2 raise if I stay at Target into 2020 at some point. So cool. I'm making a lot more money than I was back when I first started at Target, even though I'm coming back into the store. So that's good. And it's actually higher than a lot of office jobs, like entry office level jobs I was looking at here in Pittsburgh, which is kind of fucking nuts. That a retail store where it's just like, because, people think of retail and stuff as like, oh, high school kids do that. Like people who don't know how to do stuff get a retail job, but it pays way the fuck more. Like I saw some entry level office positions at $9 to $10 an hour. So you're telling me like an entry-level retail position pays $4 to $3 more an hour than an office position? Why the fuck would I want to go work in an office other than I get to sit down instead of work with people, like customers and stuff all day? Like, that doesn't add up to me. So I think a lot of office positions are going to have to start rethinking how much they're paying people, because if they don't, then there's always opportunities at a retail joint, just because a lot of high school kids do go, oh, this will be an easy first job, I won't have to do much, or for whatever reason. But then there have been people that were worked at the Target that I'm going back to for years and have stayed there for years, and they don't have any reason not to work there anymore, especially since they're raising their minimum wages. So there's no point for them to look for a new job. So I don't know. In my head, I've never understood the whole, oh, if you don't have any skills, you don't know certain things, you shouldn't get paid enough to live. That whole thing is a bit of a controversial topic, and I don't know that I really want to talk about it right now. All I know is that if you pay people an amount of money that they can like work one job and give them enough hours, then you don't have to keep rehiring people for when people quit because they're frustrated. Weird, right? So then you don't have to waste resources retraining a bunch of people every couple of weeks to a couple of months, which, when you think about it, in the long term, would save a lot of money. Huh. I wonder how that works. Anyway, like I said, don't really want to get into that. Who would have guessed? But yeah, so going back there, it'll be fine. In my head, I think it's going to be way worse than it actually is. And it's just, I think it's because I got to work from home, wake up on my own time, shower when I wanted to, not when I had to. You know, I got to do things on not my schedule because I was beholden to whenever Trent would send me a video to edit, or when he was streaming and I was like dedicated to be there and stuff like that. I wasn't beholden to myself. I was beholden to him. But I don't know. It's just, you know, it's going to suck in the sense that I am no longer almost my own schedule setter. Like, I have to like get to the, like, if my schedule says I have to start at 8 and I leave at, what would it be, 3:30, because 9 to 5, we're only there for 8.5 hours, not 9, or yeah, not 9 hours. That'd be 9 to 5, 8 to 4, 8 to 3:30. I was scheduled 8 to 3:30. I'd have to be there at 8. Gotta clock in 5 minutes early, you know. Or not. I wonder if they still let you clock in 5 minutes early. Back when I was working there, you can clock in 5 minutes early. And if you were scheduled 40 hours and overtime wasn't approved, that meant you got to go home about 25 minutes early on Friday. If you worked Monday through Friday, which was a pretty neato little trick. Just because, why? Like, if I get to go home almost a whole half hour early and you think I'm not going to fucking do that, yeah, I'm going to do that. Just, there'd be times when like the ETLs would come up to us and be like, hey, you got to leave a couple minutes early today because, you know, we're going to need you here Friday. And I'm like, I want to leave Friday early. And they're like, no, there's stuff happening Friday that you got to be here all day for. I'm like, we'll see about that. No, I mean, you never got to play that game, like where it's like, I don't know, I think I'm going to stay all day today. But you did get to, like, if there wasn't any project that was happening during the week that was like, oh no, then you get to just, you know, leave a couple minutes early. I don't know if that's still a thing. I would fucking hope it is, but it probably isn't anymore. Well, it might be. I don't know. I'd be really surprised if they don't let you clock in 5 minutes early. But yeah, so, you know, clock in at 7:55, whereas if Trent was going to send me a video, even in the morning, I would just get to, like, and be like, oh, okay, I'll get to it. And as long as it was uploaded, like, if it wasn't for that day, I didn't have to do it right when I woke up or anything. Like, if it was for the next day, I just had to make sure it was uploaded, like, edited and uploaded to his channel before the next day. Like, let's say Monday he sends me a video, he's like, oh no, that's for tomorrow, for Tuesday. So I just had to make sure it was edited and uploaded at some point Monday morning, night, afternoon, whenever, just so it could be published live on Tuesday afternoon. You know, having an actual job you go to and says like, hey, attendance matters, isn't, you know, the same. I have to wake up at, let's see, if I have to be at work at 7:55, like I got to clock in at 7:55. Well, I'm going to start walking to Target from where I live because there's no reason not to. I live like 12, 13, 15 minute walk away at the most. Like if I have to go real slow, it's 15 minutes. So, okay, I leave the house at 7:30. I'll get there at 7:45. I can sit for 10 minutes so I can like give my legs a little bit of a break before I stand around for the entire day, other than the like hour that I get to sit around for like the 2 15-minute breaks and half-hour lunch. Cool. Got it all planned out. When do I wake up? Probably if I have to be there at 7:55, 8 o'clock, 6 a.m., take a shower, eat food, get coffee, and then brush teeth, all that stuff. It doesn't take an hour and a half, but like, give yourself a little more time than you need, and then leave the house. I mean, if I was really good at it, I'd wake up at 7, do everything in like 30 minutes and get out real quick. Probably going to have to challenge myself to do stuff like that soon, just so I can get in routine of things, because I have orientation Tuesday, and then I'll get my probably training schedule. I'd be really surprised if they want to train me all the way again, just because I've done it all. Like, I don't need to be trained. I just need a refresher on everything. I even remember how to read the price strip on like what it means. And reading like the My Device for where the location of an item is. It'll show the aisle. So if you're looking for something like shampoo, it'll be in like A24, and then it'll have the the section, shelf, and position numbers. So it could say something like 2426, which means it's in section 2, shelf 4, 26th from the left, or whatever, like position 26. And then, you can just literally go right to where it is. If you came up to me and asked me where something is, I'm going to tell you the aisle. Because if I tell you all that, if I go, A24, 44, 26, you're going to be like, what the fuck? What are the other numbers? So I'm just going to be like, it'll be in A24. But like, so it doesn't feel like I need to know all that other stuff. But I don't know. They'll probably, just because I'm going through the whole thing again, I'm probably going to get retrained, which isn't a bad thing, because, make sure I remember everything. Make sure I know safety things. I don't remember how to answer one of the phones when people call, or not when they call, because the fitting room takes all the calls at this particular Target. But when they're transferred out onto the floor, I don't remember how to take calls, because that was not something I never looked forward to or liked doing. Like I said, not a social person, kind of an introvert, don't like talking to people. And even though talking to someone on the phone isn't difficult, I still don't like doing it. But yeah, so Target again, making more money. Starting, I don't know. Last time I got my schedule, I started the week after I got my orientation, so I might start not next Tuesday, but next Monday. I could start training on Friday. It just really depends. I don't know. Could even start training Thursday or Wednesday. I'd be really surprised if I started training the very next day, because I remember going to my orientation the first time, having the weekend free to do go to a concert that we actually had tickets for that weekend, and then actually going to work and like doing all that stuff. But who knows? I don't anymore, honestly. There's some stuff I'm trying to remember. I think I kind of remember how to fold a towel. Nah, somebody's gonna have to teach me to do that again. There's this very specific way you're supposed to fold a towel so it looks presentable, with like the name tag of the towel brand and everything out and forward, so people can see what kind of towel it is, like whose brand towel it is and all that shit that I'm gonna have to relearn. Thankfully, I probably won't have to relearn much about clothing, because I never knew a lot about it to begin with. Never worked in that area of the store, because it's a goddamn nightmare. Just not even for like working with people, but like people just come in and I guess they just fucking knock shit over with their cart. Like a shirt or pants will get caught, they'll keep going forward, it'll fall down, instead of taking the second to stop, pick it up, and just put it back literally anywhere. Not even just, if you don't know the specific spot, And also, that was my water bottle falling over. But if you don't know the specific spot of where it goes, just hanging it back up, they just leave it on the floor. I've walked through there a couple times recently, and it's been a fucking disaster zone. And I don't know if that's because of, like, just people, like, it's just a busier time of the year, and they're not, like, they don't have enough people, like, going through and, what's the word I'm looking for? Reorganizing and, like, making it or setting it. No, not setting. Setting is like what I did in Pog, where we set things. I don't know. It just, it wasn't clean looking. It was nuts. Like, clothes all over the floors because people were just knocking them down or walking into stuff. Or, I mean, there was one night, I think I've told this story before, but there was one night I was working on, oh my God, what is the team called? It's not like reorganization, but that's exactly what we did. Basically, there's a team that comes in near closing that your whole thing is you go through the entire store to make sure everything is looking nice, which doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever. Because right after we do that, the overnight stocking team would come in. Why the fuck are we making the store presentable before it closes and before people come in and fuck everything up and stock the shelves? Who is this for? It's a waste of time. Those hours would be better well spent before the store opens and making everything presentable. It makes no sense that as a job. At the very end of the night, when we're going through the carts of lost items, and like putting those back in the sections they're supposed to be in instead of where they ended up, like, that makes sense to do after everybody's left the store and it's closed. It usually takes that last like hour or so, like hour or two, maybe 2.5 hours of that shift, and like we stay an hour after the store closes. But like, other than that, there was no reason to. I've never understood that shift, because it makes absolutely no sense to make the store look good before it gets restocked. Because what the fuck? Like, I understand going through all the aisles, getting shit that's not supposed to be in the aisles, like finding a towel in the toy section or finding a CD in the food section. Like, when, somebody's like, oh, I don't want this, and just puts it fucking wherever the fuck. Also, don't do that. If you go to a store and you pick something up thinking you're going to buy it, don't just put it down wherever the fuck you want to. Put it back to where you found it, motherfucker. Just because it's my job to put stuff back to where it's supposed to go doesn't mean I fucking want to. Also, be respectful. That ain't your shit. You didn't pay for it. Put it back. Anyway, side rant over. That shift makes no sense. I don't understand it whatsoever. It still exists because I've gone there at night and I've seen the people doing the thing, and I don't get it. It's literally a waste of time, and it makes no sense. And that's all there is to say about it, because it's just fucking, it's stupid, and it's not even redundant because you're not doing anything. It's just a waste of fucking time and resources. But anyway, probably going to have to do it anyway, because that's one of the things they teach you is like you come in at a closing shift, and then the next day I came in on a fucking morning shift for some reason, and why? I felt like shit, because anybody that goes out of their way to not make sure that somebody, did I say that right? To not make sure? I don't know. Anybody that goes out of the way to do a schedule and not make sure that somebody, why do I keep saying that? I'm trying to rephrase this to make it make sense. Basically, you should go out of your way to make sure someone does not work close and then open, because that person, depending on where they live, how far away it is, probably ain't going to sleep that much, which is really, really fucking shitty to do to someone. Like, if you can make sure someone else can come in for that opening shift, then somebody who's closing should not have to open the next day. I'm not saying that people who close should ever open. I'm just saying you shouldn't Tuesday night stay until midnight and then Wednesday morning have to be in at 6 a.m. before the store opens. Realistically, you might get 4 hours of sleep. And that's if you live 15 minutes away from the store. Or work, I guess I should say, instead of the store, because that's very Target specific. And that's bullshit, and that's taking advantage of employees, and that's garbage. Like, somebody else should be opening, like, not that person. It's disgusting, and I hate it. You can see I have a lot of opinions about stuff like this. And I'm trying not to be really pessimistic about going back to work there, but it's hard because I was getting up extremely early to get to work, and thankfully I don't need to wake up that early anymore. When I first worked at Target, I had to take the bus every single day, and then sometimes when I would work weekends, the bus wouldn't come, so then I'd have to like Lyft or Uber, or we had a car back then, so Allie would have to wake up really early and take me if it was a holiday. So like, let's say it's Labor Day, buses are on weekend schedule, bus wouldn't come till 6 o'clock. I have to clock in at 6 o'clock, and that fucks me over. Now I don't have to rely on a bus. I just got to rely on my own 2 feet, and like to make sure not to fall down while walking when it gets snowy out and icy and all that stuff. So that's fine. I won't have to wake up as early. When I was doing when I worked there the first time, I worked POG, had to be there at 6 a.m. By 6 a.m. I should say. And I had to wake up at 4:45, 4:30, somewhere around there, to make sure I was ready in time to leave. It took me about an hour to take a shower, do my hair, eat breakfast, brush my teeth. Taking like 15 minutes-ish on average for each thing. So, and then I would get the bus at like 5:30, get there at like, it's a short bus ride, which is the shittiest thing. So I'd get there at like 5:45 or something, and then sit around and wait. Now I can just get, like, if I were to do the same schedule, I'd wake up at like 5, like, and try to get done in 30 minutes or something. I'm not gonna wake up at 4 again. Like, that's not happening, because it just takes me a 15-minute ish walk down. So I'd be like, okay, I'm just gonna wake up at 5 o'clock. But I don't think POG works that early anymore, which is a little dumb for like a lot of reasons. But whatever. So I don't think I have to worry about that, thankfully. But yeah, I don't know. I'm worried because when I left, I was really happy. I was like, finally, I don't have to do this garbage anymore. But now I'm going back, and it is more money, so that's nice. But I don't know. We'll have to see what happens within the first month and see how I'm feeling, because if it gets to the point where, I don't think it's going to get there, but if it gets to a certain point, I might just call it quits and be like, I gotta do something else. I can't do this. I don't want that to happen, because looking for a job sucks, asshole. And I had, how many interviews? Barnes & Noble, Lowe's, Target, technically, Whole Foods. I had 4 interviews in a month and a half. I got called for more, but they were either too far away or just not enough money. That makes no sense. Not enough money at all. I got an interview at Ross? Yeah, Ross. But I told them, I was like, when they called, they were like, oh, would you like to schedule an interview? I was like, I'm sorry, I can't. There's another place that would have taken me an hour and a half by bus to get there, because I would have had to transfer buses. So I'm spending potentially at least 3 hours out of a whole day on a bus for $10 an hour. Can't do that. Barnes & Noble, when I got interviewed there, they offered me the job, but it was part-time at $9 an hour. Can't do that. And it's just there was a bunch of stuff factoring into why I couldn't take those jobs, which sucked. Also, I didn't expect this podcast to be such a personal one about my experience with trying to find a job and shit, but here we are 20-something minutes in. But yeah, it wasn't great. It sucked a lot, and Target is close by, paying more than they were before. So even if I only worked 4 days a week, I would be making as much money as I was back when I was working full-time there a year and a half ago. And that'll just get better once the pay is bumped to $15 an hour. So, maybe I'll tell them oh, hey, I can't work Friday, Saturday, Sunday anymore. Like I can only work I can only work 32 hours. I can't be here at 40 hours. Maybe that's something I'll do for myself after being there for a month and a half, 2 months, however long I need to be there to figure out what I can or can't do anymore. I'll like meet up with whoever I need to talk to and be like, hey, I need to change my max hours to like 32. Like I can only be here 32 hours. I can't do like 40. Like I need one additional day where I'm not here because of personal stuff, which is fine. As long as they're willing to not like, okay, you're just fired, then, that's cool. I mean, it would really be shitty for them to just be like, oh, you want to work? You want to not work an additional 1 day? Fuck you. You're fired. And then they'd have to train somebody to do all that stuff. Weird. They're usually pretty accommodating, especially since a lot of the people that work there either are undergraduate students or graduate students. So I'd be really surprised if I was like, hey, I can only work like a max of 32 hours anymore because of things going on in my life. As long as you can accommodate that, that'd be cool. If you can't accommodate that, then I'm going to not show up when you schedule me more than that. So yeah, they're pretty good at it. As long as you give them a heads up and being like, hey, I have to change my availability because that's life. That's what happens. But yeah, so it's probably not going to be that bad. I got hired for fulfillment or ship from store, or I think they just called, when I was getting interviewed, they just call it ship. But I mean, I know what it is. Basically, you just are in charge of finding all the shit people are ordering online and bringing it to the back so it can get packed and shipped out, which is easy enough. It's actually not that bad. You run around the store for a little bit, but then you come back and then pack stuff. And honestly, it's okay. Packing is boring. Running around the store to find stuff, while sometimes stressful because you're under a time constraint, so you don't get backlogged. It's not like Amazon where it's like, you got to keep picking. Gotta go. Got to keep picking. You got to pee in a bottle. Got to keep going. Like, thank fucking Christ it's nowhere near that level. Because if it was, then I would just be like, I'm going to wait until January to apply. It's just, fuck this. There is a part of me that kind of wishes if I was going to start working here, I would wait until after the holiday, but that's not an option, unfortunately. But yeah. That's the stuff. I don't know. That's a lot of stuff about Target. Since I got the job, I was offered and accepted it, I've been just taking time to play Destiny. I think I kind of mentioned that. It's hard for me to remember what I have and haven't stuck with because I've redone the beginning of this podcast like 7 times. So I mentioned it in one of them, but I don't know about the others. I don't know if it's this one either. So, yeah, I've been playing a lot of Destiny 2, and specifically like PvP stuff, and I don't like the PvP in Destiny whatsoever. It's just extremely unbalanced, and it's supposed to be because like you got these exotic weapons and just like these pinnacle weapons and all sorts of crazy ass exotic armors and stuff. Like, there's a grenade launcher, an exotic grenade launcher that when you shoot, I think it's called the Hive or the Swarm. I don't remember which. But when you shoot the grenade launcher, the little grenade becomes alive and seeks out things to kill. In PvE, that's fun as shit. In PvP, that means if you miss, it doesn't matter. And that's like unbalanced. But that's what makes exotics fun, is that they're not balanced around PvP for the most part. They kind of separate PvP and PvE balancing a little bit. Destiny has had some trouble past where certain nerfs in Destiny 1 especially to like fusion rifles and shotguns and stuff just neutered those weapon classes in PvE. And for anybody who doesn't know, PvP, PvE, PvE is player versus environment and PvP is player versus player. Usually when you nerf something in PvP and it sticks into PvE, it's a not good thing. Most people think if you're going to nerf one thing, it should only affect that one thing, or like one thing. Like the shotguns. Like, one of the ways people play is like rushing at people and shotgunning them in the face and then meleeing them, a la Halo. Like that's what you did in Halo when you had a shotgun. You tried to either sneak up on or get into someone's face, shotgun punch, and like that, or shotgun melee, and it was a 2-hit, they're dead situation. In Destiny 1, at one point, all the shotguns across the board were nerfed because of how often people were doing that in PvP. So that way you had enough health to not go under the threshold of getting killed in a melee hit. So you would get shotgunned and you'd have enough health that getting punched would not kill you. It would leave you with a sliver. And while good idea, because getting shotgun punched is annoying, like good concept, I should say, not good idea, because I mean, it's not that good of an idea. It's a special weapon. You barely get any ammo with it, and it's a high risk, high reward playstyle. Like if you fuck up your shotgun shot at all, then your melee was screwed and you were dead most likely, because like most stuff kills fast enough. But like that fucked with PvE really hard, because lowering the shotgun damage output across the board also made it lower in regular activities, in raids, strikes, missions, anything that wasn't player versus player, which meant shotguns were basically useless everywhere. It didn't matter what you were doing anymore. It's not like, oh, this shotgun's good in PvE but sucks in PvP. It was just, now all shotguns suck. Use anything else. And that's not good. You don't want to see that happen. So I forgot what I was talking about. The exotics and stuff, and how they're overpowered and broken for PvP, but they're like not that, like the swarm. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Almost lost my own train of thought. Whereas like the grenades will seek you out in PvP, since you're the only thing that you're being shot at, the swarm has an easy time of being like, oh, well, I'm going to kill that guy, right? Duh. Whereas in PvE, it's like, oh, I got to kill this group of enemies and stuff. So, but I mean, like, even though it's unbalanced as all hell, especially since Iron Banner's right now, and that is particularly completely not balanced, because even in regular PvP, level disadvantage is disabled, meaning somebody who has a power, I guess it's light level. Do they call it light level or power level now? I don't remember. Destiny 1 was light level. I think D2 is just power level. But somebody who has a max power level of 960, I think is the hard cap, or technically soft cap. No, hard cap, because you can't find items higher than 960. Or your artifact can boost you past it, though. Yeah, if you fight somebody who's 960 and you're 750, which is where you start at in Destiny 2 right now, in a regular PvP playlist, if you're using, like, somehow both of you have the same purple pulse rifle with the same stats or perks rolled on it and everything, then the only difference between the two of you is skill. And then, like, well, it used to be that way. Now there's actually, like, stats on your armor where one of them is resilience, and it's how much damage you take. So if you have a high resilience, you might live longer than someone else. But for the most part, it's not that crazy different. If you would 3-burst them, they would 3-burst you. Pulse rifles are the burst fire rifles, by the way, just in case you didn't know. In Iron Banner, somebody who's 960 power versus somebody who's 750 power is a huge difference. Basically, if something is that different in power, you are going to be doing reduced damage to them no matter what. So, yeah. Yeah, that's not a good look. I know one thing they did recently in Destiny was they nerfed PvE critical hit damage, which is basically headshot damage. I mean, it's not that's the only way to get a crit is by headshotting something, unless you have a weapon specifically that makes a crit spot, or the Hunter's Void class skill, the bow, the tether specifically makes like enemies take crit damage all over their body. There's a couple different weapons that turn enemies into having full body crit spots. But basically, crit spots are like headshots and stuff. Like, you don't randomly have critical hit chance to do more damage or anything like that. Because, surprisingly, that's hard to balance in a game where you can go into PvP, and if suddenly someone did double damage for no reason while getting a headshot, which would then potentially, if it was not additive and was multiplicative, do quadruple damage, not great. So yeah, get why they didn't put critical hit chance and critical hit damage as stats in the game, and instead went, hey, we're just gonna do headshot damage and say that's a crit spot. Makes sense. It's a lot easier to balance number wise and not get it out of hand. It's one of the reasons why when I played the Division 2, another D2 game, PvP just doesn't make any fucking sense in that game. Like, I get why the developers put it in there. There's story and lore reasons for it and all the stuff with, like, agents going rogue and all that. But it's fucking stupid. Like, it doesn't make sense. And it's a nightmare to balance, no matter if you're splitting things down PvE and PvP. But yeah, people don't like it when things are nerfed in one thing and it detriments the other thing as well. It's not fun. But yeah, so other than that stuff, I don't know that I have much else to talk about. I don't really feel like getting in on any like super serious topics other than like the Target thing and that's about it, really. I know this is more of a shorter episode because I don't have much else to say. I just don't got anything, which is, I mean, kind of stupid of me to go, I don't got anything, but like, I'm not going to continue to talk and blather on and ramble if there's nothing else for me to talk about, because then there's a lot of pauses, then it gets awkward, and then I'm going to have to like edit out some pauses, and there's already something I have to edit out in this podcast at least. So this is going to be a little bit of a shorter one. For all you hour-long podcast lovers out there, I know you're going to be sad about it, but, sometimes it happens where I'm just not feeling particularly rambly or anything. There's just nothing on the tip of my tongue or the top of my head that I'm like, I need to talk about this. The stuff about Target, I did need to talk about. Destiny 2 stuff, I could talk about more of. But I don't know if you guys care at all. Before I finish and we do the Patreon shout outs and everything, I do want to read a couple reviews. If you didn't know, I mean, I don't know how you wouldn't know, but we are on iTunes. We're on Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean. Podbean specifically is like the main one. Podbean and iTunes. But on iTunes, you can leave 5-star reviews. Or you can leave any kind of review, but 5-star helps. Like, it helps people see the podcast. And unfortunately, we haven't read any of these. As far as I can remember, we haven't read any of the fucking reviews past, I don't know. Like, there's one from fucking August 1st that I feel like we never got to read somehow. And I don't know why. Because it was August 1st of last year, not this year. So I'm going to read those real quick because I feel like, I should. I mean, I kind of feel like we kind of did, right? We had to have. But I don't remember reading it. Maybe, no, you know what? It's these last 4. We had to have read these other 2. So I'm going to read the 4. Yeah, because this one was in December, and that's kind of where the podcast fell off for a bit. So I'm gonna read these last 4 reviews real quick because I appreciate it. If you guys would leave 5-star reviews, and if you write out a review, I will read it on the podcast. Like, that's not a problem whatsoever. And then 5 stars obviously helps the most with other people seeing the podcast and all that good stuff. This one, 5 stars, TMSD72, Pixie Poo and Nico, love this man. That's the title, and then that's the review. Thank you so much. 5 stars, Mido, title, love it. Love these guys. You get everything in one podcast: pop culture, gaming, entertainment, history, music, pig talk, a sad look into the life of retail, and the occasional nose blown on mic. That happened one time, but it did happen. I enjoy the laid-back demeanor from great hosts with plenty of laughs to make it entertaining. A must-listen for PC gamers and fans of gaming culture with a mature outlook. Thank you so much, Mido. I appreciate it. And if Apollo ever listens to this, he would appreciate it as well. I'll let him know. And there's going to be more sad looks into the life of retail. Fuck. No, I didn't need to read that on this particular goddamn episode that I'm recording. Shit. Next, 5-star review. Nom is Baldirk. Yeah, all right. A great podcast. I've been watching Pixelated Apollo's videos for a while, and when I realized that he had a podcast, I was super excited. It's an awesome podcast, and he goes pretty cool too. I wouldn't want to leave him out. Well, thank you so much. I will make sure Apollo knows that he appreciates, that you appreciate, Jesus, his contribution to the podcast. I'll try to get him on the next episode or something because... he said he'd try to get on some of the episodes. It's not all going to be me all the time. But yeah, that would be fun. And then this might be someone's full name. So I'm just going to say it's from Caleb. And it says, why the Polishing Podcast is good. They're great podcasters. I love listening to them on days when I have long walks, or when I take long walks. They're funny individuals, and I constantly replay certain segments of the podcast to register to their funny jokes. Really suggest this podcast if you want to listen to things on superheroes, video games, and more. Thank you so much, Caleb, for the 5-star review. And thank you guys so much for appreciating the podcast. Probably going to talk superhero stuff. Oh, shit. Maybe next time, maybe not next time. I don't know. If the next episode has Apollo on it, no superhero stuff because he hates it. He hates it. So definitely not going to do it. But if I can't get him on the next episode, I might have Allie talk about superhero stuff because recently we got she downloaded the DC Universe app and is paying for it to watch Doom Patrol, which has been really, really cool. I don't think we ever talked about our thoughts on Endgame and Spider-Man Far From Home and all that shit. So, maybe we'll do that next time. It depends. But yeah, this is the end of the podcast. I want to say a special thank you to all of the Patreon supporters. There are not many right now, but you are still appreciated greatly. The first person on the Patreon was actually... Allie, my wife. She has not sent me a specific thing to read out yet. I think I need to message. I mean, I could just ask her, but she's out of the house right now, so I can't give her specialized, personalized shout out. But here's the shout out, babe. Thank you so much for supporting my creative endeavors, and I love you very much. Kisses. And then also for the more generalized shout out, T-Rex with a shotgun, thank you for being a part of the $5 tier. I very much appreciate it, man. But yeah, as of right now, that is all the patrons. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoy this episode of the podcast. I kind of did a little bit of a bitching thing, didn't I? Just kind of like, I don't know about Target. Target's kind of shitty. But, sometimes it's the kind of mood you're in. So you got to just talk about stuff, even if it's not to anyone. It's just out in the world. And, it still feels good. Still feels good, I'll be honest. But yeah, that's the episode. Hope you enjoyed it. I will see you guys in the next one. And I hope you have an awesome rest of your day, evening, and or morning. Goodbye.